All right, friends, today we are talking about protein. Now, we're not going to get into the weeds about what the right protein numbers are for you. There's so much controversy on both sides of the spectrum. I more so wanted to hop on and share my story about how protein has played a role in my sustained weight loss for more than 23 years. I will share with you the protein intake I go by, but again, we're not going to get into the weeds of the arguments about who's right on which side of the spectrum. The thing I will say, and I think it's pretty safe to say that by now, we all know the importance of protein for all kinds of different reasons: health reasons, cellular rejuvenation, life longevity, muscle gain, recovery reasons, even injury recovery, but also for weight loss. When I lost the bulk of my weight, about 160 pounds worth in my early 20s, I can tell you at that point in life, I was nowhere near educated to the point of life that I am now. In fact, I'm pretty sure that my rule of thumb, my way to lose weight was just eat healthy, cut out junk food and eat healthy. That was my rule of thumb. I didn't know exactly what healthy foods were, but I knew enough to know that processed foods weren't good for me. And I'm not exactly sure why it happened the way that it did, but I can tell you intuitively, my body knew that increasing protein was the way to help lose weight. At that point in life, for me, I stuck more towards lean protein and vegan proteins. Actually, I was probably more on the spectrum of vegan proteins, less lean, but nonetheless, it was a combination, including a lot of vegetables, lower fat consumption, lower to moderate carb consumption, and very rare sugar or, again, very rare processed foods. Now, keeping in mind, this was more than 20 years ago. So my body was different, right? My body processed things differently at 23 than it did at 46. But I can tell you that at that point of life, when I started losing weight, it felt like the weight was melting off like butter. I know that part of this is for me is I really believe that when you start losing weight and you see it and you acknowledge it, and you get excited about it, it changes your chemistry, it changes your brain conversation. And I believe just that simple act of losing weight causes you to lose more weight. But we'll save that hypothesis for a whole nother day. So, speeding forward here now, 23 years later, guys, without miss, I can tell you when my protein intake is off, I'm off. My energy's off. I get more fatigued. I'm more sleepy. I even have more bloatedness. My performance is never as good in the gym. And I can even have weight gain from the simple act of not having enough protein. I can't explain to you why it happens for me the way that it happens, but I can tell you I track every day how my body feels and what I eat. And I know very closely, both within my hormonal cycles, the foods that I eat, and my performance energetically and in the gym every day. I've connected food and how food impacts my hormones, in turn impacts my fatigue, in turn impacts my muscle gain and performance. It's about being an N of one. It's about being your own test subject to really find out and decide what works for you through trying different things, trial and error, really. Personally, for myself, I go by the rule of thumb of 70 to 100% of my desired body weight in grams of protein. As I mentioned earlier, there are suggestions all over the board on this one. Most importantly, as with anything, check with whatever practitioner, medical practitioner you work with, just as a guideline to say, here's what I'm starting, any concerns with it, to ensure that your health is on board with what you're trying. Now, some of the recommendations that are out there, the NASM and many medical practitioners who are online that share studies, share recommendations, fall in that spectrum of 80 to 100% recommendation. Clearly, you can see what side I'm on based on my experiences and the people that I've worked with. Again, it's a super controversial number. So do some studying for yourself to really see what the right answer is for you. And most importantly, again, be your own test subject. The easiest way to do it is set a plan, follow it, monitor it. Monitor your body response, and then shift accordingly based on what you're feeling and seeing in your own body. The more that you do that, the closer you're going to get to what works for you. We are all different people. We have different DNA. We're living under different circumstances. We have a different genome. All of our different stress levels and anxiety levels all play a factor. Let's real quick look at a couple facts about protein. So these are also ones that I'm pretty certain everyone can agree upon. Protein absolutely helps us stay more satiated. My rule of thumb to clients is eat your protein first. And if you're hungry, go to protein first. Of course, after you rule out thirst and emotions and all the other things. Let's just think about this one thing for a minute. If you pick up the Doritos, it is way easier to eat an entire bag of Doritos than it is if you pick up a pack of lunch meat to eat the whole pack of lunch meat. And even if you ate that whole pack of lunch meat, it's going to do a whole lot more for your body than the bag of Doritos is. That bag of Doritos is going to do nothing for you except maybe even cause you some unfortunate, uncomfortable things the next day. All right, next up, the simple act of eating and digesting protein burns calories. Literally, just by eating protein, you're burning calories. It's also the building block to building muscle. Your body needs proteins in order to recover from movement and strength training and just overall cellular rejuvenation. There's also things to point to the fact that protein can help hormone regulation. So keep that in mind, especially if you have any hormonal related anything going on. For many of us, it can also stave off cravings. This one is personally huge for me. I may have mentioned earlier that I've been sugar-free many times in life. Currently, I've been sugar-free for about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. And although I only get sugar cravings rare, simply because I've changed my palate on the desire, when I do get sugar cravings, I always turn to protein, and it almost always helps make it go away. Now, when you think of types of protein and protein goals, again, it can be varied for everybody. Choose your protein based on your goals and what's important to you. For me, my right answer is I tend to lean towards lean protein, organic, grass-fed, lower fat. For my body, that just works best. And if you're trying protein powders or protein bars, look at the ingredients. Just because it's a protein bar doesn't mean it's healthy, and it doesn't mean it's healthy for you. Even better, to the point I mentioned earlier, get to know how proteins feel in your body and guide yourself. All right, friends, there you have it for today. As always, stay kind and be well to yourself. We'll see you tomorrow.